Welcome to the messaging and copywriting class. Today, I would love to talk to you a little bit about a skill that I find to be really worthwhile to learn and master, because it's something that will be with you every step of the way as you work with your clients and as you try to create a nice, nurturing relationship with them. I'll switch over to the slides in a second, but I do want to say that there's a resource that accompanies this class. It's the Copy Blueprint. I'll be showing you bits and pieces of it as I go. It's on the slides. You don't have to download it right this second, but I just want you to know that what you will see on the slides will be available to you for download. All right, let me get started. I will show you the slides now, and if you hear a little bit of paper rustling, I wanted to do this with two computers, but the other computer didn't quite cooperate, so I will have to go the old-fashioned way and just there might be some paper sound. Okay, so let's do this. First of all, my slide presentation. Oh, the icons are so similar with every software. Sorry about that, ladies. Let me just switch on the right thing. Okay. Now, of course, my movie editing software is starting. I'll just turn it off. Give me a second. All right. And that off. Stammer. Okay. All right. So here we are. Share my screen. Not that. I'll make it bigger in a second. It just always takes PowerPoint a while to for you to make it look nicer. But let me begin before we get on to the first slide. So here we are. Okay, so messaging and copywriting. From the marketing standpoint, messaging is really any kind of communication that you have with your clients or potential clients rather. And it doesn't matter if it's you actually talking to them in person, or if it's your posts or comments or on social media, if it's your website copy, if it's a newsletter that you're sending to them, all of that is messaging, any kind of communication. And the takeaway message from this class is that the secret to powerful messaging is speaking the thoughts and feelings of your audience in the language of your audience. So let me get into that a little bit in more detail. The right messaging, it has the power to motivate your audience into some kind of action, the kind of action that you would like them to take. And at some point, it might be a simple engagement so that they engage on your social media after you have posted something where you nurture that relationship. At other times, it might be you would like them to sign up for you for a gift, so they end up on your email list. And eventually, this can also be that they sign up for initial consultation with you, or actually sign up for a program of yours. Now, relevancy and language, it's in simple terms, really. Relevancy is about talking about the things that they already think about, the thoughts that are already going on inside their mind. And the language part is saying it in the words that they actually talk. Now, I know you might have heard this before. So in this lecture, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of this so that you know how to apply these ideas into practice when they're needed. Now, to demonstrate this relevancy in language, I would love to give you an example from a rock concert that my family and I went to a couple of months ago. And it was such an amazing opportunity to learn some marketing lessons, or rather to learn from somebody's mistakes. Because, in English, there's this wonderful phrase, read the room. And a member of this group just did not do that. And that's why he was not very successful in engaging the audience in the way that he wanted to. To give you a couple of examples, at some point, he was shouting, a guitar player was shouting to the audience, "Now I want you to start moving like crazy. I want you to shout like crazy. And nothing was happening, nothing at all. And going back to the phrase, read the room, had he read the room, those words were probably not something that a good marketer would have used to engage even the same kind of action. Had he peeked through the curtain before the concert started, he would see who is actually in the audience. The audience, because of the kind of music that this band makes, was people in their 40s, 50s mostly. Given the kind of music they play, it made sense, even though it was rock. It was a more sophisticated kind of rock, not the one where you have to drink or be intoxicated to enjoy it. And also, most of the audience looked like an IT department has been dropped in that concert hall. In fact, my daughter said to her father, my partner, she said, "Dad, I almost couldn't recognize you. Everybody looked like you. They all had dark hair and glasses." And it was very true. So with an audience like that, somebody telling you to scream and shout and jump, that just wasn't going to happen. Also, given the age group, people in their 40s, 50s, and so on, are not going to shout and scream just because, quote unquote, a dude on the stage tells them to, right? So that's just not what this audience had in mind. Now, interestingly, it doesn't mean that it was impossible to inspire them to jump or to sing or to even scream. It just should have happened in a different way. So, for example, he might have said something like, "And now tune into the sounds of the two guitars and let the body do what it wants to do. If it wants to dance, let it dance. If it wants to shout, let it shout." And that would have been a different story. It was the permission. Now, another thing that this guitar player did in order to engage the audience, for some reason, he kept repeating, "We are the band XYZ. We are America's band." Now, this concert took place in Europe, and of course, everybody knew that they were from the US, but it was very difficult to find the relevance in what he was saying. It would have been just so much better if he put some context to it and perhaps used the language that already that audience would have used, something like, "We came all the way from the US to play for you guys here in Europe because music is international. It knows no geographical boundaries." That would have probably given him the reaction that he was trying to achieve. So all this to say that oftentimes powerful messaging and powerful copywriting have the power to pretty much help you achieve any kind of goal that you would like for your audience to be inspired towards. But you have to be relevant, offer them things that they already think about in a way that they think about, and speak their language. To help you with this and to make it more practical, let's now go through the copy blueprint. The copy blueprint has 3 parts. The first one is this: what is their pain? Now, you've heard this many times, that you should know what your audience's pain is. And in fact, if you've watched the classes on creating your signature program or creating your elevator speech, you at least would know the main problem of your audience and then the main end result. But if you want to be really great at messaging and copywriting, you want to know your audience's pain in detail. You want to know the A to Z of their pain points. Now, in order to help you with this, what we're going to look at is we're going to work in a way that will show you how to figure out what their pain is in much detail. So this will be part 1. Then the second part of the copy blueprint is what is the root cause? Now, where is that first part? What is their pain? We'll be looking at their pain mostly through their lenses and through their language. This part will be your input. What do you believe is really beneath their problem, their pain? Why isn't improvement happening? And then the third part will be what is possible. This is what usually practitioners love to talk about, the end result, what the client can achieve, but they're all important. Again, just to show you a little bit how this will be applied in practical terms, you know, this first one, what is their pain? Oftentimes you see on websites, can you relate? Do you feel overwhelmed because XYZ? Do you feel anxious because XYZ? So that would be that. And of course, you might have seen the what is possible on website copies in the form of imagine that, or would you like to? So that would be this part. So we're going to tackle this a bit systematically now. So I'll go to that very first part. What is their pain? Hopefully you can see the 3 columns. I don't know if you can see. Okay, do you see all the 3 columns? Okay, good. So pain, painful consequences, and then the emotional response. Now, I'm going to be giving you examples from a signature program, signature system that was one of the first ones that I created. It has nothing to do with trauma. And I'm doing this on purpose so that when you think about your audience, about trauma leads, etc., you are a bit of a clean slate, but you will understand the principles through this other program. So this program was called Now What? And it was originally designed for coaches to be who have completed a certificate, but were very overwhelmed as to how to put everything they have learned into practice. Because everybody told them, you know, you just go out there and sell your services. And in practice, they found out that this wasn't as easy, or it was easier said than done. So how would they describe their pain? Oftentimes, they would literally say things like, I have my coaching certificate, but I don't feel like an expert. I have a lot of training under my belt, but really, I don't know what I'm doing. When it came to marketing, they would say, not good at marketing. There's a lot about marketing and business information that I need to learn before I can get going. Oftentimes, they would mention their website, not having it. I don't have a beautiful professional website. Or I have limiting money beliefs. Now, this is the problem or the pain the way they saw it. It's almost a verbatim description of how they would present their problem. This is their voice, these examples that you see on the slide. Now, I, as the quote-unquote expert who designed the program to address these, did not necessarily think that the reason why they couldn't move forward were the reasons that you see here, even though they believed all those things. I will show you exactly what I had in mind in that second part, what is the root cause. But just so it's clear, this is really looking at the problem from your audience's standpoint. In your copy blueprint, you will have a lot of questions to guide you here to find the detailed pain points of your audience. So as an example, what is their main problem? If you have an elevator speech, you would use the main problem from that. What are additional aspects of the problem that your audience talks about? What do they say about their situation? What do they see as their challenges? And what do they complain about the most? Now, in moving to that second column, and you might not have heard this, you probably have heard the pain points, but looking at what are the consequences of your audience having these challenges gives you such a more detailed understanding of what's going on for them. So let's look at that. So I've collected their pain points, but now I'm asking myself all these questions. What can or can't they have experience because of the problem? Or what is the aftermath, the byproduct of the problem? What are they doing in an attempt to deal with the problem? So, for instance, if somebody in my audience thinks that they have a lot of training under their belt, but they still don't know what they're doing, they might invest even more time into training, more time into courses, always perpetuating this endless loop that there's something more that they need to learn. If they don't have any clients, then they might be willing to coach so that they don't lose their skills. But of course, as you probably know from your practice hours, there are ups and there are downs to taking clients who are not paying clients. Or they might get just paralyzed, not do anything with their business, not moving it forward in any way, and just being stuck. And perhaps they start to believe that, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. So this would be an example of painful consequences. So in this pain column, we would have these. I have my coaching certificate, but I don't feel like an expert. Well, a painful consequence might be, I just need more training. So we would put that here. Now, as far as the emotional response goes, or the emotional reaction, it's to all of this. Okay, if somebody doesn't feel like an expert and they end up taking one training after another, how will they eventually feel? Well, they might feel frustrated because instead of feeling better about their expertise, they just feel like they know nothing. You might have been in that place. I know certainly many of my past students have been there. The quantity was not the problem, the amount of courses. It was just they were getting overwhelmed by the information, and the more they were learning, sometimes the harder it was to make sense or to create a structure around that information and the skills. Or they might feel saddened, useless, because they're losing confidence that they can actually help someone. So that would go into the third column. And hopefully you are starting to see how much more detail you now have when it comes to understanding your client's side. So you would do this, of course, for your own audience. This is a completely different program. Now, here's an example from, I think this is Virginia's microsite. I wrote these using this very same principle. So the little hearts and the little bullet points next to the hearts, it's really the combination of looking at pain, painful consequences, emotional response. So, for instance, my specialty is helping those who have never quite recovered from the things that happened to them in life, be it abuse, bullying, accidents, betrayals, and it feels like these painful experiences have scarred them for life. Okay. Or the people who feel like their painful experiences crushed their heart and they're now in need of a deep healing. Or they have deep emotional wounds that need healing. So for instance, the pain here could be, something happened to them. And the painful consequence now is that they have these deep wounds that need healing. And what is the emotional response? Perhaps they're losing trust that something can be done about these deep wounds. So we would combine all these bits and pieces in your copy. And sometimes it might be all of them, sometimes just one piece. All right. So the second part of the copy blueprint, and this is where we for a while forget about what the audience thinks about why they have the problem, how they see the problem, how they speak about the problem. This is really about your input as the expert. And the question we are going to focus here on is, why have they not solved the problem? And how can they solve it now? So this part of the copy blueprint will give you the opportunity to brainstorm on this. You have several questions here that you're going to be asked to fill in. For instance, what do you, as the expert, see as the root cause of your audience's problem? For that program that I gave you as an example, one of the reasons I thought they had the problem that they still had, not being able to move forward with their coaching practice, for instance, was that their expertise was not organized in any sort of system. So they knew a lot about a lot. There was no system, no curricular system to their knowledge. Or another reason why I thought was the root cause of their problem. And before solving that problem, it was very difficult for them to move forward, was that without having an understanding of their expertise, of their specialty, it's next to impossible to be able to position themselves from a marketing standpoint. So that's my inputs, not theirs. Okay, and that's just question one. And question two, why have they not solved the problem? To give you a simple example here, again, from my standpoint is, well, they are focusing on the wrong priorities or doing things in the wrong order. For example, when you come out of a coaching training, the website is absolutely not the first thing to focus on. First of all, you need to have clarity on your specialty / expertise. Then you have to have your offerings ready. Then you have to have the marketing language in place so that you can position it in the right way. Because if you think about it, and I was in that place too, many years ago when I hired a website designer, she asked me to provide her with the copy. I had no idea where to begin. And so everything that I delivered was this non-attractive, very generic copy that you might often see on many coaches' websites, the kind of copy that says, would you like to change your life? Would you like to live a happy life? You know, the kind of copy that doesn't really speak to anyone because it's so very generic. So first you have to kind of figure out who you are, what you want to do, whom you want to help. And my view of the root cause of my audience's problem was that they were not focusing on the right priorities. The third question in this part of the copy blueprint, how can they solve the problem now? And this will be very specific to you. So if you've watched the class on the signature system program, if there is a problem, let's say at point A, there might be a different point C based on who you are as the expert. How do you solve that particular problem? And also, you will have a very unique way of going about solving that problem. You know, the order of steps might be different for you than it would be for somebody else helping that same audience. So, in other words, you have your own specific, unique to you solution to that problem. And that's what you would put here into this part of the blueprint. Now, I should make it clear to everybody that once you go through the GTR training, of course, we give you all of that. But I'm saying this, you know, you have the packaged offerings. You have the SOS package, you have the more long-term package, so you don't really need to break your head over this. But for those of you who, for example, would like to combine GTR with some of the other things that you have under your belt, all of this would be relevant. So for me, in this specific case with this specific audience, well, I have a program that helps them create a signature system. And that is my unique selling proposition. If somebody thinks I have so many certifications and so many trainings under my belt and I still can move forward, well, let me help you through helping you create your own unique to you curricular system that you can package as an appealing offering. The thing about unique selling propositions, I used to be kind of stressed out about it myself, not understanding what this really was, because often people think that a unique selling proposition means that you have something that nobody else has, or you offer something that nobody else has thought about before or created before. And that is absolutely not true. A unique selling proposition simply means solving the same problem in a specific way. You know, to give you an example, we talked about trauma and weight in the last virtual office hours in the past couple of weeks. If somebody is a weight loss coach, for instance, their unique selling proposition might be, helping somebody lose weight through trauma release. While another person, their unique selling proposition might revolve around nutrition. Another person's unique selling proposition might be revolved around teaching you self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance, self-love. So you get the idea. You don't have to be an absolutely unique person under the sun where nobody else does what you do. All right. Let's now look at the final part. What is possible? Okay. A good way of thinking about this oftentimes exciting part is to look at, again, our 3 columns. The outcomes and features, this would be the outcomes and features of your program. So if, for example, you're using the GTR Design for You packages, it would be what they achieve in every module, and it's actually spelled out there. What are the practical benefits of achieving that? And then emotional response. Now, to give you another example, okay, in this Now What program, right in the first module, the outcomes were helping the client find their genius. Now, if you've been through that lesson in our graduate club, you would know what that entails too. You know, there are all these materials that help them uncover and discover the things that perhaps everybody else saw in them or they saw in themselves, but didn't quite recognize them as gifts. Now, what is the practical benefit of knowing that? Well, if you are good at something and you love doing that, that is a really, really good candidate for your positioning, for something that you would like to present yourself as an expert in. And how will you feel? What is the emotional response if you are clear on what you're the expert in and you feel authentic about it? Well, you will be perhaps motivated to move forward with your business. Okay. You could do the same, not just with the outcomes and the features. Again, here are the questions for each of the columns. If you have bonuses in the program or some special features. So for example, one of the features I often like to add to my programs is the VIP email access, I call it, but it's really the opportunity for the client to reach out in between sessions, either via email or via Facebook or WhatsApp. And it is a wonderful feature that has great practical benefits. For instance, I'm always within reach. And if I'm always within reach, what is the emotional response? Well, you never feel alone. You feel supported. You will not quit, give up, etc. All right. Let me just, okay, here's another example of that. Okay. So let's start with the first column. You can ask yourself why you're including something in your program. So I'm including XYZ into my offering so that my client can what? I'm included helping them find a doorway for their positioning into my program so that they can sell their services with more ease. Here's the example with private sessions. I'm including private sessions, not just online recorded materials, so that the client can stop procrastinating because they feel alone and isolated. So practical benefit, they will stop procrastinating and emotional response. Instead of feeling isolated, they will feel connected. They will feel nurtured by the connection. They might feel accomplished and invigorated because they are part of the game. Okay. Now, this is the last slide before I turn over to you for questions and comments. This is actually from the GTR Institute website, and this is the part of would you like to. So this is the third part, what is possible. Would you like to become utterly and uncompromisingly competent in helping clients with traumatic symptoms? Master the art of releasing traumatic memories and emotions. Get a solid and comprehensive understanding of trauma. Would you like to elevate your coaching, counseling, or therapeutic practice? Take yourself to a new advanced level of expertise with client work. Step into your humble confidence because you really know what you're doing with your clients. Contribute to the well-being of the world by helping your clients feel better. This part of the website copy is really based on this third part of the copy blueprint. So I'll stop sharing for a second. If you have any questions, do raise your hand. And I would like to say that before I write any copy, especially if it's for a website or if I'm creating a new program and it needs the packaged offering outline, this is exactly what I would take myself through. And the reason why I said in the beginning that this is certainly one of the skills that it's worth learning, it's because apart from the fact that it's really an expensive service to hire a copywriter, oftentimes, even with the best intentions, nobody knows your audience, your skills, your program the way you do. I know that even our students, your colleagues, say that they often hire an assistant to help them with social media posts, etc. And I understand that, but at the same time, sometimes, unless that person has taken your program, like for example, Janina now manages my Instagram, but she has actually taken the program. She's a graduate and understands the training from inside out. So that would make sense to me. If you wanted to run Facebook ads, for instance, even if you hired an expensive agency, they might not know your audience the way you do. They might use wording that absolutely does not resonate with your audience. So even if you're not creating all the website copy or the Facebook ads or what have you, at least you can check. At least you can oversee the whole process. Right. I'm turning over to you, and I would love to hear your comments or your learnings. Kathy, go ahead.
So with the copywriter, so I'm getting my hi Taryn, long time no see and speak. Yes, so I'm doing my own personal website. So I'm going to have my GTR comes first, my empowerment coaching is second, and then my sacred life mentoring. And I decided not to include Reiki because I thought it was just too much. So I wanted to simplify it. And so I had someone help me out, and I thought, okay, let me get a copywriter. And we had a meeting and and all of that. And so she sent me the copy. I redid everything. I sent her to your website, like go check out and just see the feel of what it is. And some of the statements were copied word for word. This was on mine. And it's like, no, no. So I got my money back. Which is good. And so when I was speaking to the woman that I was dealing with, I said, this is what I want. I want the field to be like this. Like you're walking up the pathway to my doorstep. You're knocking on my door, but there's two beautiful planters with beautiful colored plants. You're going to open that door. You're going to walk into my house. My home is very minimalistic with pops of color. Okay, this is what I want. Something very simple, pops. I want it to reflect who I am. This is who I am. Simple, elegance, pops of color. I went back and redid everything, but God is good because I thought, I don't have the time. This is too much. So much is going on. Well, I was like a mad scientist for 2 days. And I was so proud of it. And we're going to tweak it a bit, but I Kathyfied it. So whoever's going to come to my door and open that website, they're going to get a feel of who I am. And that's what I wanted. I wanted like, come on in, come and sit down. Can I make you a tea? Can I make you a coffee? What would you like? I baked some scones. Let's sit, let's talk. That's the vibe that I want. So now I'm waiting to get like the photo shoot done. And I know exactly what I'm going to wear and what I'm going to do. But it took me this long and wrestle with myself, all the things I thought I couldn't do or was too much to do, to really meet myself. to really meet myself and say, wait a minute, you don't have to impress anybody. This isn't about competing with anybody. You're in a healing modality. You're here to help someone. So I'm going to do it my way. And I think I've reached this point in age and stage in my life that I figure, you know what, at this point, I'm going to do it my way. And there's no wrong way. It's the way I feel when I welcome you into my home. And that's the energy. And they're like, oh, that's really good vibe. I can understand it now, blah, blah. But I went back, Isabella and ladies, I rewrote everything. So now when I go back into my microsite, because that'll be next, it's like now I understand, because I was overthinking it and having that information, what all that information you provide. I was like that mad scientist going back and forth, but I kept it simple. And I thought, get out of your head. Just think of it as someone coming to your home. How would you welcome them? And how would you treat them? And what are the gifts that you would offer them? I thought tea, coffee, scones, something, whatever. So that's the kind of mindset I was in. And I really struggled with the Reiki part of it. And I thought, realistically, am I going to have people in my home? Like when I had my office after COVID, if we shut everything down. I don't know if I want to do that at this point. And I decided I'm going to let that one go. And I felt good about it, actually. I thought it was just too much happening on my site. And yeah, so I did my own copyright, Isabella and ladies, because I went back and I double checked. I'm like, some of these comments sound really familiar. And I was like, you went to that website and you copied them. And that's not what I asked you to do. So, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. You said so much in what you shared, Kathy. One of the things was when we started the Graduate Club, my love is mostly the trauma part and the psychology and all of that. I have learned how to do the rest, including website design. It's not my dharma at all, other than I knew that I had to do it for the people, to help others. So that was my inspiration, motivation. And that's why this first year of the Graduate Club, we started with the business and the marketing so that it's there if you want to move forward. The reason why I said to myself, it has to be there, even though I personally love the rest of that so much more, is precisely that. Because you think you hire an expert and you feel like, I don't want to do that. I'm not a copywriter, but at the end of the day, you end up doing it anyway. Or worse yet, you pay the money for something that doesn't end up working. I mean, Taryn here has had the experience with a website that was built for her. And it just wasn't resonating. It just wasn't the way you speak. It wasn't the way you present yourself at all. So it definitely is a skill worth learning. When you said the Cathifying and the way your home is, the minimalistic splashes of color, I don't know whether you were here when I said this, but I'm just going to mention it once again. I added to the Graduate Club. Let me just open it up and share my screen with you. A resource that I prepared a long time ago. It's Brand Your Style book, Style Your Brand, booklet. Let me just open it up here. And it uses this styling theory or branding theory based on 4 seasons. There's a lot of pictures there. Let me just find it. Style Your Brand workbook. Okay, here. Okay, Style Your Brand workbook. Let's just open this. And in design theory, they often use this 4-season way of identifying your brand. And essentially, the way this is written and approached is, it guides you to asking yourself, if your practice was a person, if it was a personality, what kind of person would it need to be so that your audience connects with it in the most easiest, effortless way? And so you have the fresh spring, you have the color palettes, and it describes personality traits if your business was a fresh spring. What would she look like? What would she wear? What kind of jewelry would she wear? How she would style herself, etc. Then you have these keywords. fresh, playful, youthful, fun, creative, optimistic. Colors, tints, no black. So tint is a basic color with a little bit of white mixed into it. So as an example, that would be the pastels. So it's a little bit lighter than the hue. The hue is the classic color. So more examples of that would look like. Romantic summer. Now this is the one that I used for the branding. So if it was a personality, it would be calm, grounded, balanced, flowing, relaxed, attentive to detail, clean, conscientious, perceptive, dreamy, soft. And you can see that it's pretty much the feel that you have on the website. And once you have the feel, you don't really have to think about it so much because, you see the kind of soft, relaxed, calming vibe that just these pictures give you. Keywords: gentle, graceful, flowing, modest, elegant, caring. And I would use this for everything, for the kinds of imagery that I pick. For the font, it would be something graceful, gentle, elegant. For the copy, it wouldn't be pushy. So pushy would be, more pushy would be the dynamic autumn. You see it even in the colors. So it's the more, if I were to do a business website, this would work really, really well. Or if somebody was I don't know, tantra coach, ignite your passion, this would be great. So don't forget about that resource, even if for inspiration, for your colors, for your wording, for your font, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a very intense few days, but it was, yeah, I could see how I'm going to bring the universe in here, how I had to challenge myself. And it actually felt really good, the sense of satisfaction. I have one more question. Even on my own website, apart from the GTR microsite, the packaging, the offerings, can I implement them on mine?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole reason why I put this in there is to make your life easier, ladies. Yeah, I don't want you to spend time on figuring all that out. Yes, you're most welcome to do that.
Thank you.
One thing that you mentioned, and I would just add a few words to that. You realize, and you mentioned the age, it doesn't matter the age, it's the confidence of feeling good in your skin and just moving forward with what you have to offer to the world, just the way you are. And that's difficult when you have all these experts saying that you have to do it in the exact same way as they teach it. But what I do want to say that for marketing purposes, it's very useful to think of yourself as you are not just in one way in your life. There's different parts of you, and that healer part is just one part of you. And so when you're creating your website or presenting yourself on social media, it doesn't have to be the absolute all of you. It has to be what speaks to the client. It's still you, but it's the part of you that is helpful to them. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I also made peace with because I remember when I first took the course, my design, I have to dig in and keep studying and find out. And I was searching other trauma specialists. I was going crazy. And then I finally said to myself, wait a minute, Kathy, you don't have to teach this. You don't have to know all the medical terms, you are teaching a method. And I made peace just with that, knowing that you are teaching a method. You are applying a method to help your clients with. You don't need to check out this doctor, this person, this trauma coach. I was doing all of that. I was making myself crazy. I have files and files and files. And I thought, no, I am teaching the gentle trauma release method. It's a method. And that's what I need to perfect, or I don't like the word perfect, but get perfected. Yeah. So the method, that's it. And I made peace with that. It just put everything in perspective.
Yeah. Another way to look at it is to think of that I'm helping people release their traumatic memories and their traumatic emotions. We're not covering the whole field of trauma, the whole research around trauma, etc.
So
Yes.
I help people heal their trauma by applying a simple and effective method that will calm their nervous system.
Mhm, And going back to copywriting and messaging and this class that we mentioned, if you were to put this on a website or a social media post, you want to make sure that that's how they think and speak. So if a client, wakes, I always give this exercise of when they go to sleep and then when they wake up in the morning. So, sometimes before you go to sleep and, you have all these thoughts, all the problems that start swirling in your head. So what they think, gee, this is really not good. My nervous system is racked. If so, then it has to be part of your copy. If they wake up in the morning thinking, I just wish that my nervous system was balanced and harmonized, then that is part of your website copy. But if they go to sleep and have different thoughts and words, then you want to put that. I remember once I was at a workshop that had to do with marketing and copywriting, and I was in a group with they were a couple, and they had a program that was designed to help people de-stress, to sort of manage the stresses of the daily life. They did tapping and they had some other modalities under their belt. And the exercise that we were about to do was they wanted to find a great name for their signature program, for their coaching program. And they were trying and nothing was working. And then I said to them, okay, what do people usually say when they come to you? Like, what is their problem? And the woman says, well, they usually just say, I'm just stressed to the max. Oh, there you have it. That's the name of your problem, of your program, stress to the max. And it did become their signature program. So it's really simple in that you don't have to figure it out. Your only job is to listen when you talk to them. In fact, that Now What program, that later it got changed to Signature System Creator, but that was because people learned what a signature system was and they wanted to have it. But most of the time, when I worked at the other school and I was in contact with the students that were ready to graduate, they were in this place of, okay, I should be happy, but I'm kind of in this place of now what? So that's what the program was called.
Yeah. But I wish I knew, but I mean, I didn't know back then, but yeah, I was in that now what, but
Yeah.
I know many of us feel like having the GTR under our belt, it just solidifies everything, makes you feel like, you know what you're talking about. You actually know what you're talking about. Not that I didn't know what I was talking about with the empowerment coaching, but I think that came with time. With time, I got better at it. I understood it more. It's just so interesting the way the mind works. Yeah.
Yes, and from a marketing standpoint and the way you present your offerings, I think that the best way to help people understand what you're doing is through two main ways. One is if you really name the specific problem that they have and create an offering around that. So I don't know, weight loss for postpartum or something like that, right? And that's very specific. It's a very specific audience. Or if you have a method that addresses a problem it is generic, however, it is felt and perceived as a very potential cause behind people's problem. So the gentle trauma release is an example of that. With empowerment coaching, there was not that kind of clarity, apart from the fact that it got a bit overused as a word. But what do you imagine that empowerment coaching will solve? You don't get a clear picture. Whereas with gentle trauma release, most people go, yeah, I need that. They have a reference for their life, whatever that is.
Yeah, very true. That's why I bring in my life story there. And so I go from there, and this is how, and the map. So that's a tool that I'm using, something concrete to explain what that is, because you're right. It's so abstract. It's not like what is empowerment coaching? And that word empowerment has been overused. So
Mhm.
it's how do we simplify it? And I think that's the message for me personally, has been keeping it simple. Because
Yeah,
in my brain, I don't keep it simple. I'm always searching for more information and more, and in this information overload. So for me, I've been trying to practice, just keep it simple. Keep it simple.
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. You know, I can't tell you how many times we laugh with Lucy Byler, because we both remember the time when this didn't have a name. The method didn't have a name. You know, now we have GTR, it's gentle trauma release method, and you know, we feel it's a thing and we know what that is. But before it was a thing, I was on the phone like this with Lucy. I think we were editing something or reviewing something, and she asked me, how do you describe it? And I said, it's a real trauma release, but you know, it's very gentle. It's a gentle trauma release. It was, there we go. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
So it is simple, and it should be simple, because your audience is not the expert. And if they understand the root cause of their problem or what's going on, they usually think in simpler terms because they're not the expert.
Beautiful.
All right,
Thank you.
ladies. Taryn, Donna, you've been quiet. Taryn, do you want to unmute? Let me try. I think you're muted. Should be good to go now. Yeah.
Hi everybody. It's good
Hi.
to see you all. What's interesting to me, I took your signature creator course, and I think the things that really helped change my copy was the work that you gave us, going out to the potential customers and asking them what their kinds of challenges they're having, and having them write back and utilizing their words. And that's what I used to build my microsite, was the words that we had to do the work. And my old website, I think the reason why it became such a bad thing for me was a lot of reasons, but one in particular was that I was talking in that website, it was all about me, and it wasn't really about the customer. I mean, the client. And that kind of came to me through the thing where you just showed us the colors of each person, you know, who they are. And I was looking at it from what I wanted it to look like, for me, right? But then in doing that work and asking the questions of, I think I asked like 10 or 15 people what, you know, their questions about what they're looking for. And that's what drove the copy when I did the signature system. And then that, because I did that exercise, I then was able to say, based on my experiences, because these people that I talked to were people that I worked with, I was able to tell them how I could help them. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me, though. The challenge I'm having with my website, not a lot. I mean, it was at first it started out a little piecemeal, because I had this old website, and I was trying to have and then I had the microsite. And so how do I bring those two together? And that was kind of a challenge, but I realized for me, and I think just like Kathy said, is that it's, to me, I just wrote down, it's full body coaching. It's not just the life coaching. It's also the gentle trauma release method. And you can't do one without the other. You can't have any success with life coaching without the gentle trauma release. For most people, I have yet to meet one who says, oh, I don't need that. That's the first thing that shows up. And I think that was the reason why I signed up for gentle trauma release, was simply because I knew in empowerment coaching that there was something missing. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something missing, because you could play that play that life coaching game, so to speak, over and over and over again. And it's not going to work if you haven't dealt with the trauma. You're just not. It's not going to heal you. And I think that was the challenge for me, was that I was sitting there going, yeah, I've written the letter. Yeah, I've written the letter. Yeah, I did my, what, I forget what the other all the different things were, but what they're called. But, and then you sit there and you're like, but I'm still here and I'm still feeling this way. And
Yeah.
so.
So, just to use what you just said, if you wanted to create a website based on what your client said or a social media post, like, have you tried anything and ended up in a place of, well, I'm still here, I'm still there, that would be the copy.
Right.
You don't really have to overanalyze or think about it too much. You just need to listen. And it's really, really the same kind of skill that we use in coaching. I often end up thinking that a good coach is really a good marketer if you let yourself, because in order to validate the client, to reflect back properly, there's only one way of doing it: listening to what they're saying in the words that they're saying that, and reflecting that back to them. The reason why I say it's always also a good marketing is because if you have a consultation session, a discovery session with a client, you would do exactly that. They would tell you about their kinds of trauma. They would tell you about, what's holding them back and what they think that trauma might be under the surface for them. So you just reflect that back. So if Marcus came to me at the beginning, he might have talked about his ex-wife and the trouble he's having co-parenting with her, his other girlfriend who broke up with him, etc. So I would make it really about relationships for him, and just reflect back whatever he said to me, making sure that he understands that we can take care of this relationship and how he co-parents, rather than bringing elements that are not really on his mind, even though GTR would help him with that as well. I wouldn't say, for example, you will gain such a healthy relationship with your anger. I wouldn't, because he's not even aware that he has a bad relationship with anger. You might remember that he that represented for him his abusive father. So
Right.
yeah. Right. Donna, you like to observe, so I'm not unless you want to say something, go ahead.
No, I just found that my biggest challenge, I guess, in building the website, and still is a fear of commitment. If that makes any sense. It's like, if I put that word down, it's there forever. And it's not. I know that in my head it's not. But I think it's from past when everything was printed and that's it, you couldn't take it back. Oh no, I made a mistake, or I said it wrong, or like that kind of thing. So I think that's still there a little bit, that constant vigilance that you got it right before you handed it over to somebody.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And the fear of commitment doesn't have to do with, well, actually somebody might find it and then they will actually want to work with you.
Yes,
have to do
possibly that too, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's there's a likelihood of that happening, although without any marketing. It's just I don't know. I once mentioned the statistics. It's millions of websites creating every day. So without any marketing, you probably won't be contacted by millions.
No, I probably won't.
And Kathy, with the Reiki, I also wanted to say, and if other students have other modalities under their belt, I do find that it's not the greatest idea to focus on a healing modality specifically, because again, unless somebody is a healer and they've already had experience with Reiki and they want really Reiki, they do not wake up thinking, I need a Reiki session. I think if I had a Reiki session, my life would be different. They think about the problem that they have. So it's still there. And you could either mention it on the website, it might be a bonus in one of your packages, or if you don't want to mention Reiki at all, and perhaps you want to reveal to them as you work with them that is also an option, you might offer a bonus called private healing session or gentle healing session or something along those lines. And then you can offer that to them, or give them even 2 options, not just Reiki, depending on how you
Yeah,
feel.
thank you. That's great advice. I kept it in like my description, GT, like Gentle Trauma Release Method, Empowerment Coach, Reiki Master. But that's a great idea. But I decided not to do a page for that. I just keep it there as one of the things that I do. But that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. No one wakes up and says, gee, I need a Reiki session.
You might,
today.
because you know the
Maybe
power of
I
Reiki.
Yeah, well,
But
I do it on myself or on my husband while he's sleeping, and I'm awake at 3 o'clock doing, and I'm like, that's what I do. And I have a few clients, but yeah, I prefer not to. I don't know. It just feels like right now I want to put that on pause.
Yeah, another example would be, sometimes financial coaches and people who help people with their finances, making sense of that, their debt. A client doesn't wake up thinking, I need to put everything in my Excel sheets. It's not something to put on a website. I really need to put my finances in order. I really want to get out of debt. Very simple. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
is so true.
One final thought before we leave, unless you have questions, is this. In marketing, oftentimes they say that, if you don't know who your client is, then think about yourself. Maybe you are your ideal client. Sometimes this approach is helpful, but it may not be so helpful at other times. Here's an example. You once were in a stage where you carried a lot of trauma from your past, but you're not there anymore. So the way you think today is very different from the way you thought before you did some work on that. So even though there is a common thread between you and the client, you're also very different. And what is going to happen as you work with them is your strengths will complement their needs. They're not the same as you. So that's something to think about. Taryn, mentioned that when you said, it was about me. It's great to give them a little bit of common ground to help them understand who you are on a human level, but you are not your client, and you shouldn't be, because you're now the expert. So you should be a little bit ahead on where they're at right now.
That's beautiful advice. I love that.
All right, ladies. So thank you very much for coming. I loved seeing you. Tomorrow we have the summer solstice. So happy summer solstice. Summer here. And I'll be I'll be away starting tomorrow. I'll be back the week starting the 3rd. So when I come back, I'll let you know about the virtual office hours that you can also join, Graduate Club members, for July and August. And hopefully
Thank you.
summer will be magnificent.
Have
Y'all
a
have
nice
a good week.
summer if I don't see you.
Good seeing you all.
Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
fun. Be
Bye-bye.
safe.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Kat.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.